1.
Okay.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. This is episode 23, and we are finally talking about MLS games. It has been so long. The last episode we talked about an MLS game was episode 7. This is now episode 23. We have gone every week except one since that happened. It's too late for me to do the math, but somebody can do it and figure out that's a really long time. What is it, probably like
16?
17 weeks? Sure, let's go with that. Yeah, because we had the extra week in between. Anyways, we're super excited to get back into it. We're going to go through game previews. We're going to talk about if this tournament is even worth it with all the players that are dropping out and teams that are looking to drop out. Is it even worth it to risk it? We're going to talk about the structure a little bit, make sure you guys know exactly what we're looking for in this tournament, how things are going to play out. And then we will just go through every game, talk about it a little bit, and give our predictions, players to watch, and a little bit of breakdown of where we left off with all these teams. But before we get into that, as we always do, scarf for the week. Adam, just tell us the new scarf you got because nobody else has one. However, before we do that, I am 99.5% certain that next week's episode I will have a new scarf to brandish. So, things to look
Proud of you.
Fair. Not a new one this week. I'll look to see how many. A good one. Got the Rochester Outlaws. That was given to me for the 2014 World Cup when I was up.
I'm going to say I learned that there is that's an Outlaw one?
Yeah.
So I learned there's a Lexington chapter of the Outlaws, so I might join that and maybe I'll bring that along too. Just to update, I've just got another Red Bull scarf. It's one of the ones that has a crest in the front, but
That looks pretty good, honestly. It looks like a scarf.
Yeah, I like this one. It's like that summer fit that Sacktown we're talking about. So it's super light. It's not cloth, and then it meets in the middle and makes the badge. I just grabbed the first one off my wall and look at because I'm so excited for Wednesday. It's literally by the time you are watching this episode, MLS is back, and that is super exciting. It has been so long, man, and I was having this conversation with some people the other day, and the league is not the best league in the world, but it's our league, and I cannot wait for this to come back. It has been something I've missed terribly for the last few months. Feels like a few years, but here we are. So let's talk about the structure a little bit, right? So we are going to have 6 groups, 4 teams in each, except for Group A. And then there's also Group D, which has FC Dallas, which might not be playing. So then if that happens, who knows what's going to happen? Their first game is already postponed. So this whole MLS is back tournament structure, it's really a segment to say we have no idea how this is about to end up because there are still 3 days from recording right now to when we're going to kick off, and we don't know if all the teams are even going to play. There are some teams that aren't even there yet. So that brings me to a point where we say, is this tournament even worth it? We can talk about structure all day and how they can turn things around and this, that, and the other and how all these teams are going to play each other and whatever. Is it even worth it, Adam?
That's a good question. Looking at it right now, and it's the feeling I've been getting for the last couple days and last couple weeks since we've gotten more information about this tournament. As excited as I am for MLS to be back, I don't feel like this is just worth it at this point, honestly. We look at the leagues that are going on overseas, but those are countries where their numbers of COVID are going down. Ours are literally going the opposite way. I know a few players have spoken out even as recently as a couple hours ago and are basically like, we don't feel safe in Orlando. I think Diego Rubio said, we can't leave the hotel, but no one's bringing us food. So we have to leave the hotel to get food because we kind of have to eat. So it's just been a mess. I know a bunch of teams, not just FC Dallas, have tested positive. I'm sure more, unfortunately, will test positive before MLS officially kicks back off. And as much as I love this sport and I'm excited for it to be back, you can't risk people like this, and I don't feel like it's necessary to push through when you don't have to.
It's a great point. Connor, your thoughts?
I mean, the easy answer is no. That's just obvious based on what you see with Dallas, Nashville, every team. But I feel like the best thing to do would be to ask the players and the staff that are the ones that are out there risking it themselves. I think that you should ask them if they want to continue going on with this, because if they don't, then I think you really got to consider pulling the plug on this. And obviously people are going to lose money in this, but it'll be for the safety of everybody else. I would say the only way I could see them possibly saying yes is that it's like, we went through all this already. It's like all these people that are getting the disease, if you don't even end up playing, it's like, well, then what did I do all this for? You basically just gave me the disease and then we did nothing. But yeah, I still think you should ask the people that are out there risking it themselves. And I do feel like the players at this point would probably say that they don't want to play.
Yeah. I mean, you said that they spent all this money to set, everything up and rent out the hotels and everything. And we kind of know how MLS feels about, making money. It's kind of the number one priority, regardless of what else happens. It's even more unfortunate that which season of MLS this is. This was supposed to be like a big year in terms of league history. We have, teams looking to join every other year, it seems. We've got 2 more coming next year, 2 more coming a few years after. So I felt like this was supposed to be like this, huge flagship season, which is now falling apart. And even though it's not the exact same as a normal season would be, MLS is going to be like, look, we're getting this done, whether we have to just shove everyone into Disney and play. I just feel like that's their bottom line, especially now.
It's an interesting point from both of you, and I agree, right? As much as I am excited, right, and I literally just said it, I cannot wait for this to come back. Looking at it from a humane point of view, right? You've got people who, and I'll take Aaron Long as an example, right? Connor brought it up, like, is he going to play? And I think Connor brought it up because he was injured in the beginning of the season. We didn't see him play. Aaron Long just gave birth to like a beautiful baby girl like 2 weeks ago. He goes out to this tournament, brings that thing back. Who knows what could happen? And you've got tons of people in that same position. Dax McCarty's got a young kid too, right? And these are just players that I follow on social media, but I know there are tons of others that are there, right? So you look at it from a humane point. It's like, how can you make somebody come in and follow all these guidelines, but then you walk in, you've got teams that are walking with 10 people who have it, and everybody's in close contact, touching each other, and it's very, very difficult. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, and it was I'm going back to the tweet that I sent y'all, the ECS, the supporters group for the Sounders, who protested when the team left, saying, we're not for this. We don't support this. We love our team and we love supporting them. But they have a sign there: sports are not worth lives. And it's a really good point. It's a really, really good point that at the end of the day, it's just a game. It will be there when this is over. We need to make sure that we have an answer to all this stuff. And if we don't have it, you can't risk things like that. Now, on another side, on a business side, when you've been out for 17 weeks now, and you're a league like MLS where you don't have a ton of draw, you don't have a ton of people coming to see you week in and week out, and you a lot of times have teams that are mainly losing money, and it's not like they're losing from 300 million to 290 million. They're balancing between 5 and 4 million, which when you're running a team like that, that's a big chunk of change to lose when you're losing 20% of whatever you bring in. That's a lot to lose in one period. So I understand why MLS is trying to get it through, because every little bit can help, especially when a league, like Adam mentioned, is growing so much. when it grows that quickly and has so much potential ahead of it, you have to take every precaution to make sure that it doesn't flop. So I see both sides of it, but at the end of the day, man, you just got to be careful. And I, as the numbers keep going up and up and up, the less I see the need to keep playing. But alas, we are still playing. However, it doesn't mean that there are people who are just jumping in and playing with them. There are lots of notable names missing either for injury or personal reasons. Two of those names are Iko Para for injury and Carlos Vela, I believe, for personal terms, unless I've seen otherwise. But you've got people who are choosing to sit out, which is an interesting choice, especially from big names like that. And you know, it makes you wonder how many more people are going to say, you know what, this isn't worth it, I'm not doing it. So just a lot of things to keep in mind and a lot of things to watch over the next 3 days, because it is a very fluid situation. A lot of things can happen in the next 72 hours 72 hours. And, you know, I don't want to say I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm very anxious to see where it goes, because it literally can go anywhere. So.
Yeah, I mean, the injury people, like, I totally understand. It's probably actually better that they don't play. I don't know what Opara's specific injury is, but he's now getting so much more free time to just focus on recovery,
Right.
rather than, trying to force himself to maybe play in that last group game, risk getting re-injured, and then he's out for I don't know how much longer. Vela, on the other hand, I totally understand. I'm not saying he go against your personal reasons. You have to play in this. Like, I fully support him making his own decision and worrying about his own personal well-being. That being said, MLS cannot afford him not to play. You just can't. He's literally the biggest name in MLS right now. Like, if he sits out, if he says, yes, I see MLS having this tournament. Technically, I'm contracted to the LAFC, but I don't want to play. That's a huge blow and kind of a slap in the face to the league, where your biggest name talent is saying this isn't worth it.
I very much wonder what the repercussions are for somebody walking in and saying, I'm not playing, right? It's like somebody going on strike.
But I don't think there are any, at least from the players in the Premier League that I've seen. So like a Troy Deeney or N'Golo Kante, who originally, when they were starting to come back into training, didn't report. They talked to their managers and head officials at the club. Troy Deeney, like Aaron Long and, players we've mentioned, has a newborn at home who was born with respiratory issues. And he literally said, he's like, I can't risk bringing that back. Like, I physically just can't do it.
Yeah.
And Watford said, we totally get it. You're our captain. Like, you do whatever you need. We will carry on without you, but your family and your safety is obviously most important. Same with N'Golo Kante. His were more personal reasons, so similar to Avella. And he basically spoke to Chelsea. Chelsea agreed. They said, obviously you're one of our more important players, but we understand. Like, if you aren't comfortable coming back, no matter how many safety guidelines we may have in place, like we can't force you to come back and into an unsafe environment. Thankfully, they're both now playing, because I think the Premier League's done a really good job at making sure the exposure is limited. Not to be negative, but I don't see MLS doing the same thing.
No. I think they'll do their best.
Yeah.
There's also no telling on other big names that could be missing. I mean, you see all the links of these teams getting players with the virus, and we don't even know which players have it. I mean, there could be a ton more big names that may not be playing.
Yeah, this tournament's unfortunately becoming not who's the best team, but literally who's sustained the least casualties in terms of starting players. Like, we don't know who from Dallas has it. As far as I know, like 8 or 9 players were reported.
I think it's 10 players, 1 staff.
Okay, so let's say conservatively 5 of those 10 are starters. That's half your starting 11's now out.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me Dallas is still going to try to make it out of the group like that? You can't have that.
It's definitely a strange situation for sure, and it's one to keep an eye on. I hope everybody stays safe, and I hope that they can get this right, because it would be huge for this league to come back. It would be huge to get it in front of eyes that don't usually see it. All of this is huge for the league, but they need to get it right. If they don't get it right, this is going to be – it could be catastrophic for the league to come back and say they did it wrong. Nobody's going to support them anymore. League fold. It can be that drastic, and that's terrifying.
Not because this is obviously unrealistic and is never going to happen, and I don't mean it to sound like this is something I want, but would that be the worst thing to happen if the league completely folded? And what I mean by that is we know that U.S. soccer has needed a restructure for years on the way that players are brought through. It's, $3,000 per year to get a young kid 5, 6, 7, 8 to, play for their club. It's a huge problem in this country. European players who have come over have said like this, this isn't right. So I almost wonder, and it obviously could easily just go the other way and we no longer have soccer in this country, but I wonder if that's finally kind of the straw that kind of forces those changes.
If that happens, and that's a topic for another day. That is 100% something we could sit down and chat about forever. That basically puts a knife in the idea that you would ever have pro rel here, because you would restart the entire cycle. But conversations for another day, and a very interesting way to look at it for sure.
I also think that some teams would not be able to recover from that, like a Colorado maybe, or like a San Jose. I don't think they would restart. I think that's it. They're done.
Right. So not to go into the full conversation, but you'd start over with a smaller league and teams where you're going to have a market. And you're not just adding teams to add teams like we seem to be doing now, at least.
You literally would need to go back to MLS 1.0. Yeah. It would be brutal. It would be something that I don't think the league would come back for. Again, something to come back for. But as I mentioned, we are still playing. So let's go ahead and start previewing some of these games. And we'll start with the Copa del Sol, I believe is what I'm going to go with. Inter Miami versus Orlando. And we're, of course, going to give it to our resident Inter Miami fan. Connor, go ahead, take it away.
Wow. So funny.
I know. It's 10 o'clock. I have my funny gene on. Adam, go ahead. Give us a little breakdown. Where did we leave off with Inter Miami and Orlando? What are players you're looking for? And give me a little prediction.
So I'm very much in favor of the Copa del Sol, even though the winner of this game doesn't actually get a trophy. It's much better than the Sunshine Derby and some of the other horrible names that I've seen thrown around Twitter. But this is the game that I think this is the right way to start off a tournament. It's, the new expansion team that we've only gotten to see twice this season that have looked all right, but arguably in terms of profile, probably, top 5 worldwide in the league just because of who owns it and where they're located. And obviously Miami and David Beckham is prime real estate for anyone. And then you have Orlando, who has Luis Nani and his 12th back. But I want to say Miami wins. I feel like Miami will be excited and up for it, while Orlando just continue to exist. I saw something the other day that an Orlando player was quoted saying that Orlando or Florida is purple. Orlando's never been purple, even when you were the only team. You've existed for 7 years by yourself. You've never made the playoffs in a league where everybody makes playoffs. And now you think you own the state now that there's another team that can compete with you. So if Orlando loses this game, they're just done. This can only go badly for them. Miami comes in and they lose, fine. Expansion team, still working out the kinks, no big deal. But if they win, Orlando's got some serious questions. That being said, I don't know who's the one to watch it for Orlando, other than the obvious in Luis Nani. I just feel like he's going to be doing the majority of the work for that team offensively. I know they were linked with, I forget his name, some young forward from South America.
It's late. Back into.
Oh God, I hope he doesn't go to Orlando.
Someone was coming out of retirement, but
yeah. He could probably start up top for that team.
Probably, but yeah. So I mean, you look at the Miami team, who, all in all, I know they haven't won a game. I know they're 0-2 to start the year, but the two teams they've played, so they played the best team in the league in LAFC and only lost 1-0 because Luis Robles stood on his head pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And a DC game where they were winning, went up the other end and scored, but then got called back on a handball and red card, and then ended up losing because they were down a man for like half the game. So not, obviously not a great start to the season, but not the worst. It's about average. But I expect Miami to somehow pull this off. I think this is kind of where Pizarro shines. He's looked pretty dangerous in the first two games, and now has had, how many more weeks to get acclimated to his teammates working together. So I think he's, arguably the most dangerous. And then I think their back line steps up. We brought in LGP, Breck Shea, who I don't believe are playing. I know LGP traveled, but I don't think he's eligible. As for Breck Shea, I have no idea. But I kind of like the way they're shaping up, at least so far. I think they looked at those first two games and kind of looked at where they can improve, and got kind of lucky with this whole intermission thing and said, all right, now it's our time to take a step back, add some pieces, and attack this when soccer starts up again. So I'm going to go 2-1 Miami.
Right. So, interesting note, I just looked this up. Luis Nani hasn't featured yet.
He was.
I was trying to think of like what his first appearances were. He hasn't played yet. So I wonder if he'll even feature. I don't know if it was a lasting injury or anything like that.
He seemed healthy based off that picture we posted of himself, so I have to imagine he's ready.
One of the other guys that I would watch personally, there are two of them. I'd watch Chris Mueller because he doesn't start. I have no idea why. He's the best player on that team. And I'm watching whoever they play at true striker, either Tesho Akindele, Santiago Patino, anybody who's playing that true striker role is the guy I got to watch because, as we mentioned, they aren't scoring a lot and they need to figure out how. So those are the players I'm watching for Orlando.
Also give a shout out to my boy Lewis Morgan because he's good.
All right. We will do a full rundown of our predictions at the very end. So I hope everybody has them prepared, or if not, can run through them. But why don't we move on in to Nashville versus Chicago, which I will take up because I'm big up on Chicago, as we mentioned in the predictions video. I am all in on Robert Beric and Chicago. Nashville looking to pick up after a really promising start, in my opinion, not by their results. They still have 0 points, but their performances for an expansion team has been something I've been relatively happy with, right? They held their own against Atlanta, and they're actually, they didn't do so great in their second game. But from the games that I've watched and the clips that I've seen, they are not awful. They just need to put the pieces together to me. And Chicago are going to try and get their big hitters going after only picking up 1 point from their first two games. But they've got all those pieces, right? As we mentioned, they started putting those pieces in the right places and getting them together. They just got to get them working together. And I think this tournament is going to be really good for them because everybody's on the same spot, right? It's not like you've got a Red Bull or an Atlanta where you're playing a team that has replaced one or two players while you've got 8 or 9 new players in a spot. Everybody's basically starting from ground zero again. So I think it'll be really good for Chicago. For me in Nashville, the first 2 big names that I'm watching, of course, are Dax and Walker. Dax is the face. Both of them are the face of the team. Dax is the heart of the midfield. Walker controls that back line. Both of them need to show up big. This is a tournament they need to set the tone at. You're here for 3 games, really. If you don't perform in 2 of those 3 games, you're gone. So you need to show up big, and it needs to start from your big faces, your big captains. The last one for me is whoever's going to play up top, whether it be Baji, whether it be Akam, whether it be Dunladi, whoever is playing there needs to get going. They've had 1 goal in 2 games from a center back. That's unacceptable. You need to get better up top. You need to figure out what's going on. You need to put the ball in the back of the net. Those are the 3 people, whether you want to count that forward spot as one spot for me that I'm watching for Nashville. And on the other end, I'm going to watch Robert Beric, as I mentioned before. I compared him to Nemanja Nikolic when we were on Sacktown FC's podcast talking about Chicago, and I stand by that, man. The way that he plays is very Nemanja Nikolic-like. 1 goal in 2 games, but he needs to produce in this 3-game window. You need to put the ball away. Gaston Jimenez, my second. I think he's going to play in the number 10 right now until they've signed a few players, but I don't know if they're ready. So I think he's the one kind of pulling the strings. They had Georgi Mihailovic playing there last year, and he was okay, not great. So I think he is the guy who's going to have to start really doing that. And then the last person I'm going to go with is Aliseda. They signed this new Argentinian winger, basically to replace straight up Nico Gaitan. And he's got to be the guy to do it. Frankowski is good on one side, but they really never had somebody on the other side to balance out once Gaitan left. So he's got to step in and fill that gap and start creating chances for Beric and get Gaston the ball. And like I said, they've got a lot of pieces to be half decent. He's got to put them together. To me, I got to give this one to Chicago here. Anything can happen, but I just don't trust Nashville's attackers right now. I haven't seen them score yet, and I'm not going to put faith in anybody who hasn't finished a ball yet. 2-0 Chicago.
Fair. I mean, worst comes to worst, if Nashville get knocked out, Dax can go in the NFL. I don't know if you guys saw the video from his hotel room.
Oh, when he was trying to throw it into the garbage can. Yeah.
All right, NYC Philly.
Go on. I couldn't take him. I didn't feel like bashing anybody today.
I feel like this is a relatively uneventful game, personally, because I think that these 2 are the favorites for their group. I think, if anything, if Philly end up winning this game, it just gives them a greater chance of finishing first in the group, but I still see both of these teams going through. So I don't see this as an overly important game. With that being said, both teams are going to be looking to rebound in a better way than they started the 2-game season that they had. NYCFC looked bad, so it could only be up from here. And Philly's going to be looking to bring more exciting games like the LAFC game, hopefully. So my players to watch for NYC, I went with Sean Johnson and Abair. And back in the Sacktown live stream, Sean Johnson was my pick for the keeper that's going to have the most clean sheets in the competition. And I still stand by that. He's a great goalkeeper. He's got a decent back line in front of him. And I think that he is going to have to step up and be a big player for them, because the way that City's attack looked at the beginning of the season was abysmal. They did not score a goal in MLS. I know they scored in CONCACAF, but in MLS they did not score a goal.
Sorry, just wanted to throw that out there.
So if their attack doesn't get going again, Sean Johnson has to step up if he's going to carry them through past the group stages and then into the knockout rounds. And then Abair, kind of tacking on to what I said before, because their attack wasn't good, I mean, that has to be linked somewhat to Abair. Obviously not fully on him, but somewhat. He's their striker. He's their main man. He's got to get himself in attacking positions and finish balls like he did last year. Mm-hmm. And if he starts doing that again, then the attack's going to start looking strong again like they did last year when they were top of the Eastern Conference. So if he can get things going and Sean Johnson can lock it down on the back, then NYC are going to be really dangerous in this tournament. And then on the Philly side of things, one of my picks for one of their big players. This one's a little bit for Adam, Brendan Aronson. I know how much you love him,
I do.
but he deserves it. He is their young attacking. I want to say star, but I feel like he isn't at the star yet, but he will be. And then I also picked Andre Blake. So I think that Brendan Aronson needs to be the focal point for the Philadelphia attack. I think he needs to be that link from the midfielders to the strikers, playing balls into Shabilko so that he can score tons of goals for them. And my biggest thing is, are we going to see Brendan Aronson that played against Dallas and really didn't do anything? Or are we going to see Brendan Aronson that played against LAFC and looked great? So if we see LAFC Aronson, Philly could be looking good attacking-wise. But if we see Dallas Aronson, then there's going to be some question marks. And then Andre Blake, who I know we've talked about a little bit in the past, a little bit of inconsistencies. So what are you going to get from him in goal? With every game being so important, even though I still think Philly has some easy games coming up, you want to grab every point that you can. You can't be having goalkeeper mistakes. So you need Blake playing at his best. So if he is playing at his best, then defensively, they're going to look pretty good, which they need to do better at because they were not good to start the season defensively. But if he's playing poor and playing at like in the beginning of the season, then it's not going to be good for Philly. So based on all of that, my prediction for this game is a 1-0 win for NYC.
All right, you're kicked off. Unacceptable.
How are you going to say they're not good defensively when they
then say they're going to get a shutout?
They have Jacob Glesnes and Andrew's favorite player in front of Andre Blake.
Thank you for not saying this game.
They shipped 5 goals in the first 2 games, and I didn't pick them to get a shutout.
His name's Jack Elliott.
Jack Elliott didn't start the season.
Doesn't matter. Jack Elliott's incredible.
Maybe he's the difference maker, but they let up 5 goals in the first 2 games.
That's because Jack Elliott wasn't there. Captain Jack Elliott.
Maybe it is.
Even if they can't score, Jacob Glesnes is just going to score a 50-yard banger into the top corner again, so it doesn't matter.
That would be unreal.
The thing that interests me in this game is how are these teams going to handle the Southern heat? Both of them being northern teams used to kind of cooler climates. And specifically, how is NYC going to handle summer heat on and this is actually all jokes aside, summer heat, first game back after shutdown on an actual size field. Their midfield is going to have probably been training on, small fields because it's all that's available. It will be interesting to see how they come off. But
that's why I feel like it could be a low-scoring game if both teams come out sluggish.
Yeah, this thing's either going to be 0-0 or like 5-5. It's gonna be a mess.
Let's hope for a 5-5.
I agree. Let's go on to the winners of Group C versus New England with Adam.
So this game I'm actually kind of excited for. It sees one of the greatest footballing minds this country's ever known go up against Bruce Arena. So, yeah, we've talked about this Montreal team enough. We were all very skeptical when Thierry Henry came in. We didn't know how they were going to look, how they were going to play, how they're going to, set up going forward. And we were quickly proven wrong. And we have, apologized ad nauseum at this point to all Montreal fans who listen. But Montreal look good. They still play a 5-3-2, which drives me up the wall, but it works for them, so I can't complain. I don't
know why it drives you up the wall. Once I start being a coach, that's the only thing I'm playing.
I don't know why. It just just one of those things that doesn't fly with the way I want to play soccer. That's probably why. But it's not as bad as, and I won't name the team, that play a 4-2-2-2 with 6 people in the middle of the field that I was telling you guys about the other day, because that actually rose my blood pressure when I saw that. Anyway, going back to Montreal, They should have the necessary pieces to see off this New England team. As much as I do like that New England attack with Adam Buxa and Gustavo Bo, who looked pretty dangerous those first two games, the rest of the team behind them, I just can't get behind. I mean, Teal Bunbury is one of my favorite players in the league just because his name is Teal Bunbury. He's not blue. He's not green. He's, a little somewhere in between. But this Montreal team has not stars all over the place. I mean, yes, they have, the Boyans, the Wanyamas now who should be integrated. But I feel like this is just a very well-rounded 11 when compared to New England. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone like a Tider led the group in goals. Not the whole tournament, but just through the first three group games. Someone like a Tider or a Lopalainen now that he's re-signed. So look for this team to be the dark horse of this tournament. I'm obviously going with the Montreal win. I'll say 2-0.
Man, I can't wait till Montreal get blown out of the water after we hyped them up so much.
Montreal did beat New England to start the season, so if they can do it once, they can do it again.
Week 1.
Yeah.
Or New England will be hungry to get some revenge.
Man,
New England doesn't do that.
This is just going to be. I literally can see them losing every game 3-0. We're just going to look like idiots.
Yeah.
New England has a decent attack. I don't know. I feel
they have two really good forwards, and then everyone else behind them is kind of mad.
Yeah.
Everyone
behind them.
Carlos Hill pulls the strings. You got Diego Fagundes on the wing, who's still 19 somehow. I have no idea. He's been here forever.
He's been in the league for 19 years, and he's still 19.
That's literally Freddie Adu. Freddie Adu's 31 still. It's ridiculous.
They've got the pieces. It's just a matter of they can. Really, what they need is they need a true holding mid. They need somebody just to put everybody in their place and say, "You're not getting past me." And then maybe a better center back, and then they'll be all right.
We just have both managers suit up, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, that'll go great for New England.
But Bruce Arena still got it.
Thierry Henry would embarrass the entire pit, everybody on the pitch.
It'd be gross.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see that, just coaches playing for your team. I'm here for it. I'm okay with Frank DeBoer representing Atlanta.
Yeah, Chris Armas, yes please. That man can still move.
Thierry still at, I don't know how old he is, 40 something. How old is Thierry?
Oh, yeah. He'd have to be the favorite to win everything.
Oh yeah.
Thierry Henry's 42. I guarantee you if he played a full season in MLS, would end with 20 goals again.
Crazy. All right. Let's move to FC Dallas Vancouver. It's postponed. All right, there you go. Let's move to TFC DCU because we've already got a game postponed. I really wonder, before we move on, I wonder how that will go down. How are they going to reschedule that and fit that into this tournament? Because there's no day where you don't have a game. So what are they going to do? Just put it on another time slot? It'll be wild.
I don't know. Play behind. I don't know. Don't you have big gaps in the middle of the day where there's just no games?
Yeah, but the reason they do that is because
of the heat.
The heat, yeah, they don't want anybody dying.
Maybe, I don't know, put up a tent. Do a little five-a-side.
I love it. All right, TFC DCU. I'm excited for this game. This game's going to be good. Connor, tell me where we left off with these two teams, who you're watching, and what your predictions are.
So I think that this is an extremely important game, and I think that every game is big in this group because I feel like this is one of the most up-in-the-air groups in the competition, and I think that any team in the group has a chance of moving on. And obviously the game between Toronto and DC will loom large. These are two, on paper, strong teams. With that being said, you got to remember that Ben Olsen is the coach of DC, and that throws a monkey wrench into everything. Yeah, I think that this group will require teams to grab points any way that they can. So, like I said, a very important game. So, on the Toronto side of things, some players to watch for me, obviously, Pozuelo. And then I also said Omar Gonzalez. So, Alejandro Pozuelo.
Anytime that name comes up on this podcast, I need to throw up.
Okay, sorry. Did
Even
you
though
get your
I
throw up out of the
brought it
way?
up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I hope you're feeling better.
I'm not.
Alejandro Panzuelo, he's obviously going to be the root of the entire Toronto attack. So, meaning that if he does well, the attack will do well. And if he does not do well, there's a good chance that the Toronto attack will not do well. And we all know he's a super special player in this league. He's a superstar, and it doesn't matter if that's him playing at striker, false nine, attacking midfield. He's going to be a really strong player for them. And if DC can find a way to stop him, which is going to be really hard, obviously, but if they can find a way to stop him, I think that could really hurt the Toronto attack. So I think that's a player that they should really focus on. And then there's Omar Gonzalez. If you want to get your throw up out of the way, he's in defense. And
is he really? I thought they were playing him as striker this year.
Oh yeah. He does both. He does a little bit of everything. He dabbles in goal, in defense. He plays striker. He's a multi-talented man. Okay, he can play wherever he wants.
Sure.
But right now, he's choosing to play center back right now. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. In that Toronto defense, which I feel like is very solid defense. Most of these guys have been playing together for a while. Obviously, Omar Gonzalez is newer, but then you still have Oro. I think that he's going to need to step up and be a big player for their defense if they really want to make their defense very solid. I think they still will be okay, even if he's not playing at the top of his game. But to take them to another level, I think he has to step up, be a leader in that back line, and play really well. And if he can do that, and they get Pozuelo firing, we already know how good Toronto can be in knockouts. If they can just get to the knockout stage, they're going to be super hard to stop unless they play Seattle, because we all know how that situation goes. And then on the DC side of things, my two players to watch are Julian Gressel and Bill Hamid. Now,
you and your goalkeepers, man. Everybody says I have a soft spot for goalkeepers. I'm pretty sure everybody added was a goalkeeper except for Toronto. Anyways.
Yes, so far. I don't know if the rest are goalkeepers. I don't think they are. Anyways, Gresselmania, one of the most underrated players in the league. I think we all know this. The real question is, where is Ben Olsen going to play him?
Goalkeeper.
Left back.
I was literally going to say, I have that written in my notes. It could honestly be in goal, because that's how Ben Olsen operates. Gressel can play well in a lot of different areas in the field, and we know this. He can play on the right as like a wingback role. He can play as more of a center mid, but he's been playing him at attacking mid to start the season, and that has not gone well. So we need to take this Dax McCarty experiment and shut it down, put Gressel back where he is supposed to be playing, and utilize him in the way that he's supposed to be used, in a very underrated way that doesn't show up as much in the goals and the assists, doing the little things, and really helping DCU solidify their game. And then obviously Bill Hamid, same argument with Andre Blake, holy inconsistency. There's not a lot of games in this tournament. If you can get him in this short window to play well and not be inconsistent, then that would be insane for them. It'd be great, because good Bill Hamid is good, but bad Bill Hamid is really bad too. So
what an insight.
Yeah, this is the analysis that everybody loves on this channel. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's not really an in-between. There is no okay Bill Hamid. It's good Bill Hamid or bad Bill Hamid. So which one are you going to get? I think that's going to be a lot for this group, because, like I said, every point is going to matter. So if you get bad Bill Hamid and he makes mistakes, that's going to cost DC big time. So you really need him to step up and play well. And with that being said, my prediction for this game, I'm going with a 2-2 tie. So both teams are going to pick up an important point.
Interesting. I will put money on it that Julian Gressel is playing striker by the end of the year. At some point, whether it's late in the game. I don't think he'll start there, but he'll move there at some point, like when DC are down and they need a goal, Olsen's going to send
Or
it up.
DC's up. He's going to be playing center back.
Oh man, dude, he would be. I would like. I'm genuine. Like I would put. I'd probably if Ben Olsen doesn't play him at striker by the end of the year, I will buy you a new striker.
It probably will happen.
That whole time listening to Connor talk about DC and specifically Gressel, I just thought how much it sounds like when you like lend something that's really personal to someone else and then they just completely like break it. Like Atlanta fans were like, here's this really special player, and then he's playing like left back, and you're like, no, that's not what he's for. That's not why we gave you him.
That's a perfect analogy. I
That
really
is
like
so
that.
good. That's so good.
Like Atlanta fans are just watching this like bashing their heads against the wall. Like that's not why we gave you him. Stop misusing it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bashing their head
that's
against the wall
perfect.
because they let him go in the first place. Then they're
That
putting
too.
it even farther through the wall because he's being used as a cam.
Yeah. Wait until he's a striker. They're going to just liquidate the entire city of Atlanta.
Worse than when they blew the 28-3 lead.
Oh, God.
All right. Seattle, San Jose. This is an interesting game. But, Adam, where do we leave off with these guys? What are you predicting? Who are you watching?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. Everything that I want to say points me to Seattle winning this game and winning it very easily. Jordan Morris looked ridiculous the first 2 games of the season. We all love Jordan Morris. And on paper, Seattle look too strong for me to pick San Jose. However, after being on the Sacktown podcast and talking to San Jose with them, they seem to be under the impression that this is a San Jose team to watch. I don't see it.
No.
I'll be the first one to raise my hand if they manage to do something from this game, but I can't imagine a world where that happens. Yes, they scored the crazy free kick goal from Alanis. You know, cool. But Seattle can score from open play and pretty much do it whenever the hell they want.
Oh, yeah. No, they do it at will.
Like, it's kind of gross sometimes that they'll just keep the ball, and they'll just flick a switch like, okay, we're going to go score now, and there's literally nothing you can do to stop us. So you just get out of the way. That'd be great. As far as players to watch, other than the obvious Ladero, Morris, blah, 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 I'll go with Kelvin Leardom, who's weirdly
want him in your fantasy team.
no. He's weirdly one of the best right backs in the league because he's playing right wing half the time. Like he's just everywhere. I mean, as far as like goal scoring defenders, he's, as far as I can think of, probably number 1 with just the amount of shots and position he gets in to score. It's kind of gross.
He's a 2020 Jimmy Madranda.
Yes, but he doesn't come off after 60 minutes and give you the bonus points.
No matter what happens after.
So, yeah. I miss those days where you could just pick Madranda. He'd play left wing, listed as a defender for fantasy, would get clean sheet bonus points, and then get taken off 60 minutes in. You'd get like 10 points guaranteed every game. It was awesome.
Would you look at that? FC Dallas's game got postponed, and Adam still got to talk about how he would pick players or teams based off of fantasy. This is why we love this. Everything comes.
That's not why. You were the one who brought up Madranda. I said I like Kevin Leardom just as a player. I was trying to think the other day about how many ex-Vitesse players that are now in MLS, and I could think of at least 4 off the top of my head, him being one of them.
Cool. That's a weird.
It's a
weird
very
thing to think about.
It really, yeah. Well, because I saw a bunch of ex-players had bought like season tickets and had paid rent and had done a bunch of stuff for Vitesse fans who had been working during the whole COVID pandemic. So it got me thinking about, Kelvin Leardom, who else? Eloy Room was the goalie for that team. Kashashvili and Kashi were the other 2 that are in MLS right now.
If anybody wonders what Adam was thinking about in his free time this week, is how many Vitesse players came over and played in MLS.
The inner workings of my mind are an enigma.
Oh, there are people who are going to be too young to know that reference. That's so sad.
I know.
Adam, give me a prediction, man.
3-1 Seattle.
Bold.
Not really, but
Bold and brash.
is it bold because I gave San Jose a goal?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Fair.
bold and brash.
I mean,
Or
they
like
have
belongs in the trash.
Poo, 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 poo.
They have Wondolowski.
Oh, don't say that name.
Where's that from?
That's why I gave him a goal.
I'm going to get sad. Anyways, we're going to move on to probably the best game of the weekend, I would say. And that's without bias. I genuinely think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. Atlanta versus RBNY. Connor and I are going to take a double shot at this because both of our teams, so we'll kind of split this one a little bit. But I'll give you a little breakdown. A forced rivalry by MLS that actually turned into a real rivalry and is now happening in MLS's back because of a rigged draw is starting off Group E. That's pretty much all you need to know. But anyways, Atlanta are looking to find life without Josef Martinez, while a youthful and kind of weird RBNY with no real stars or player over 30 for that matter look to prove to the league that money doesn't buy success, tactics and teamwork and desire do. And by success, I mean third place in the league and knocked out in the semis of the playoffs. Yeah. I'll go ahead and say who I'm watching for Red Bull. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say who I'm watching for Atlanta. Connor, say who you're watching for Red Bull. And then
Same time?
No. Don't make me come over there and hit you. All right. Big players that I'm watching for Atlanta. Adam Yan, obviously. No Adam Yan, or no Josef. Adam Yan is clearly the guy who's going to step in there because Eric Lopez hasn't been officially signed yet, so he's the guy. How are they going to play around him? Are they going to change their tactics? Is he going to fit in and try and play like Josef, which I don't recommend? But if they do, it's very interesting to see what he will do, what they will do, and if they will still be successful with it. Likewise, I'm excited to watch Jurgen Damm. I think he's going to start as soon as he comes in because he's been playing in Mexico or keeping up in Mexico. And he is, and I mentioned this when they first kind of started getting linked to him, he is the right wing back that they need to fill that role since Gressel left. He is the perfect fit for that. I've watched him play a little bit for Tigres, and man, he was good. However, I believe he deserves an automatic 3-match ban for that
TikTok
announcement video that he made with I think he just deserves to automatically sit on the bench and think about what he did.
He's got some better ones. But that was not great.
No, that was not a good one. I didn't like that at all. And then finally, I want to see if Rossetto can find some rhythm and fit in with this team. You know, like he got really hyped coming in, and it was really like when Josef was healthy, it was him, Barco, Piti, and then Rossetto. And it was like all three of them. You're like, where did this attack come from? It was wild. So I want to see if he can find it and fit into this rhythm and team because I genuinely believe it will be a lot of fun to watch. So those are the three I'm going to keep my eye on. I hope Rossetto actually plays. Who are you watching at Red Bull, man?
I am watching Kaku.
Josh Sims.
I'm watching him board a plane and leave.
Go away.
I'm watching Kaku and I'm watching Aaron Long. And I'm watching Kaku because he has the talent to be one of the best attacking players in the league. But that all depends on whether he feels like he wants to be that talent or not. And I feel like more often lately, it feels like the not. And if that continues to be the case, then I don't know what this Red Bull attack will be like. I think that they have some guys that can come in and replace him, like Shakovsky, right? I think he could come into that. No,
he's a defensive guy. I'm not playing him at the 10, even though I'm pretty sure we tried playing him at the 10 once.
Yeah, I feel like Wikipedia, when I looked it up, had him as an attacking midfielder.
So
I don't know who.
He definitely has played there before. It was an experiment when Kaku got suspended for blasting the dude in the face.
God.
they played him there, and it wasn't bad, but I wouldn't just openly be like, yeah, let's play him.
Hasn't he also played outside bid at one point?
Shikalski? Everybody plays outside mid. We all just shift.
We only play outside bids.
Yeah, so I don't if Kaku's not firing, I don't know if they'd replace him. I feel like they would just keep playing him and just watch him not perform. And if that continues, I don't know what this Red Bull attack is going to be, because what is Brian White going to do without getting balls played to
Score
him?
goals. It's what he's going to do.
He can't score if he doesn't get the ball.
So genuinely, I believe Kaku's being played out of position. I think he's a winger. I think he should play on the wing.
Okay.
However, we don't have anybody else to pull the strings. So I understand why they're playing him as a 10. I genuinely believe he's a winger. But that's just me.
He has the talent to be a great attacking player for them. So if they play him in the right position or not, if he wants to be a good player or not, I don't know. If he wants to be there at all, I don't know. And then Aaron Long, because I would say arguably he's their best player, and that's the only argument against that I would say is if Kaku decides he wants to be one of the best attackers in the league. Obviously missed some game time last year and then didn't start this year. So I want to see how he's able to slide back in, if there's any rust on there, because obviously he's a really talented player and would be huge for them. I feel like I mean, I can't speak. You would be able to speak better on this in terms of who he would come in for, based on, I feel like, what we've seen so far in the season. He should be coming in for Tim Parker, but I don't know if that will happen. And if he comes in and he bosses the back line like he has in the past, then I think Atlanta are going to be in some trouble for this game.
My genuine hope is he slides Amro Tarek to left back and Pat Seegers takes a seat on that nice bench. That's my hope. Patty Seegers, bet you he's a great dude. Not ready yet.
What do you think is the realistic move that they're going to make?
Amro Tarek sits the bench while Aaron Long cleans up every Tim Parker mistake that gets made, and Pat Seegers is sitting there watching everybody run by him. So, are there any players from Atlanta that I didn't mention that you're watching?
I said P.T. Martinez and Miles Robinson.
Okay. So, yeah, I can see why, right? Like two guys who are probably leaving off at the highest level when we took our break here. So I see that.
Yeah. PT needs to come up and make up for Yosef's absence and be the player that we expected him to be. And then Miles Robinson's coming in after the injury, now without LGP, with Meza in the back line now. So I want to see how that works out for him. So
yeah,
a lot of question marks there with that.
For sure. Yeah. I'm looking on the Red Bull side. I'm watching Brian White because he needs to get involved. All jokes aside, right? 2 games, 0 goals, really 0 chances. I think he might have had 1 chance that he kind of fluffed. But other than that, I don't remember him being anything. And it gets pulled off at like 70 minutes for Barlow. Like, if he's going to be our true number 9, he's got to get involved. And you're going to give him chances, and you're going to give him sorry, I thought my camera froze there. You're going to give him chances. You're going to give him opportunities. He has to convert them. He's going to be our number 9, right? We need somebody to fill BWP's shoes, and it's got to be. If it's going to be him, he's got to do it now. I'm also watching Seegers. Like I mentioned, he was awful. And if he keeps playing, he's going to continue to be a weak point that P.T. Martinez, Barco, Rossetto, probably even Adam Yan is going to go ahead and say, like, I'm just going to tear you to pieces. And the last one I'm watching is Flo Below. And I've mentioned it time and time again. That is my favorite player on this team. He has worked so hard to come back from two different ACL tears. He is grinding it out. I watch him on social media. He's grinding it out in the garage of his apartment building, just kicking the ball off the wall, trying to stay fit as he can. He is going to be so good when he comes across the line. And I think he has been the guy we've been missing. That person to be the game changer that we've been missing these past 2 years. And I am very excited to see him finally get it. Predictions. Connor?
I'm going with a 1-1.
Wrong. The answer is 1-0 RBNY. Why? It's going to be cagey. It's going to be tight. It's going to be physical. But RBNY always rise to those types of challenges. You remember this. We beat you all the time in these types of games.
And that was when you had veteran guys like BWP and Robles, but now you've got young guys who may not be able to do that.
No, they are going to do it because they're dumb. They're just going to be like, oh, I don't like you, so I'm going to hit you. They're young, dumb, and ready to hit somebody. All right.
How you like them?
Andrew, do we know who of the young guys on Red Bull traveled to Orlando? Like, did our favorite player travel? Do we know?
I haven't heard that he hasn't, so I have to assume the GOAT is there, and you are screwed because of that.
Not him. Who did we say before? I'm pretty sure he got loaned out to RB2. That this was his year.
It's not his year, man. He's at RB2. I don't think he's there.
That's sad.
That's so sad, man. Everybody was so hyped for him.
I know.
Next year,
he would have been my player to watch.
Next year is the year of Omir. I'm telling you, mark it. But we could talk about Omir for days. Why don't we let Adam talk about the greatest team at the tournament? They're playing Columbus in the Hell is Real Derby. Adam, who are you watching for FCC that is going to be your breakout player that's going to win the games?
He's not a breakout player, but the person for FCC that I am going to watch for is Jason Statham. Sorry, Yupstom. I got confused there. No, I mean he hasn't come in and coached a game yet, right? He wasn't there for those first two games, so it'll be interesting to see what changes he makes. I think once he sees that back line in an actual game, he says screw this and throws a kid on at halftime and hops in there. Yeah, I think it's just going to have to be inevitable. Now that Licati is back full time, at least for now, he has to do something.
What, that bust?
Hey, we're not doing this right now. It's too late. We're not doing this. But if FCC have any sort of prayer, especially it was going to be hard for them no matter what group I got put in, and then you stick them with literally three of the hardest possible matchups. Like I do feel kind of bad for them. This Columbus team we've picked, to pretty much go the entire way. I don't see a way that FCC can get even remotely close to any sort of points in this game. I think Yupstom sees this Columbus team that they play first, and I don't know if they're the finished article, but in terms of the process, they are light years ahead of where FCC are, and he is in for a very rude awakening in his first game. I think Zella Ryan just torches that entire Cincinnati team.
Interesting.
I mean, I genuinely 4-0 Columbus, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher than that. But no, Connor Zardes isn't getting any of them, so sorry.
Oh.
We can get one.
I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think they're going to get so hyped to play for Jaap Stam, and he's going to give the most terrifying speech of all time, and they're just going to go out and just start hitting people. And they're just Columbus aren't even – well, that I think that's going to be their new game plan is they aren't super talented yet, but they can outwork people if Jaap Stam gets into their head. So they're just going to go out and foul them every time they get across the 50-yard line and make them play dump balls all day. And then they'll play three center backs, clear everything out. Hopefully Licati or Kubo gets one on the counter, and they'll try and win every game 1-0. I can see that being the rest of their game plan.
I think they line up the same way Montreal does in that 5-3-2.
Oh, yeah.
And just bunker.
Oh, yeah.
Literally from the first kickoff, they just throw 8 guys behind the ball and just launch the ball up to the 2 strikers and say, all right, 2v6, have fun, go do something. Be back here playing defense.
You've got your defensive 8 who are focusing on shape and stuff, and then you got Jurgen Licati and Kubo just being like, all right, we're going to kick a ball and you take it down and score against these 6-back guys.
Pretty much.
That's the entire session. All right, so I think it's going to be close. You think it's going to be a blowout. We'll talk about actual scores when we get down to our predictions. SKC Minnesota, because we've been talking for a little bit, so let's keep going here. SKC Minnesota, great game this is going to be. You got SKC at the top of the West by 1 goal differential ahead of Minnesota right now. I can't wait for this. The biggest note for this one is Defensive Player of the Year, Ike Opara, not with the team in Orlando. That's a big hole to fill for Minnesota, who currently don't have a lot of options. SKC are firing on all cylinders right now, and we've talked about it at length. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works. Big player for SKC, first and foremost, Alan Pulido, right up top. He's definitely one of the top people probably to win the Golden Boot. Winston Reed, I think, is another one to watch. Anybody who's coming in to try and fill a back line like that has been decent to start the season. I wonder if a new guy not adjusted to gameplay yet is going to have a negative effect on the defensive shape that they have. And then the last but not least is our guy, Gadi Kinda. Gadi Kinda blew up the league in the first 2 games, and as we mentioned, was the attacking piece that everybody was missing in SKC, and he's just starting to do all the things they need him to do, and I'm very excited to watch him play again. Minnesota, whoever fills in for Ike Opara, you got to keep an eye on. Right now, it's Brett Kallman or Jose Aja. Brett Kallman is a notorious backup center back for Minnesota. I believe he was starting the first year when Minnesota were Minnesota. And then you've got Jose Aja, who has been a starting option for Orlando City the past few years, and we all know how great they've been. So their backups have not been fantastic. I wonder if their shape changes. I wonder if their tactics change. But those are not great replacements for me. So I'll be keeping an eye on them. Then I'm looking at Tomas Chacon, the young DP that they signed, is going to need to carry the midfield for them. They've got Ozzy behind him, really solidifying the backside. But you got to have somebody who can pull the strings, and that's going to be him. And he looked all right the first few games. He's got to keep it going. And then finally for me, Luis Amarilla, of course, going to have a big tourney, help Minnesota move on. However, no Ike Opara, no happiness in the back line. I got to go 3-1 SKC on this one. Yeah, there's not much else to say.
No disagreements.
Yeah. I would say I'm really good at, summing these things up. I've done this once or twice. Connor, tell me about RSL versus Colorado.
It feels wrong to take this game away from a Colorado hype train conductor.
It does, but I had to move things around, and I really
No, it's okay.
to talk about FCC. I just had to.
It's okay. I understand. I agree. He has to talk about FCC. All right, so I feel like most people instinctively are going to say Colorado should win this game, and I agree 100%. They should win this game. With that being said, the way that all 3 of us predicted this group going, all the pressure has to be on Colorado, because if you don't win this game, that's killer, because then you automatically have a huge setback, a 3-point setback to what we all expected. And then you got to play catch up in a really tough group with Minnesota and SKC in it. So if RSL and Colorado realize this, RSL has to go out there knowing that there's no pressure on them, that the expectations are on Colorado to perform here. And if RSL don't perform, it's just what we expected. Nothing happens really. But if they outperform what they expected, then that's great. So there's no loss for them here. And I think that's the way they got to go into this game. So the big players for me, for RSL, I'm looking at Rusnak and Krylak. So Albert Rusnak, obviously, somewhat recently burst onto the MLS scene as one of the best attacking players in the league, and helped RSL to get to 3rd last year. 3rd in the Western Conference for this team. That's crazy. What the hell did I write here? I think that if the talent isn't around him, it's a question of, can he take over the game by himself and lead this RSL attack? Because I don't know if I fully trust the guys that are around him to get it done, and I don't know if he could do it on his own. So that's where my question marks come into the attack and what he can do. But we'll see. He obviously has proven that he has the talent to do it. if he could do it again, that's fantastic for RSL, and he's going to be their star man. Now, Damir Krylak, he is a veteran in the team, and I think that he's going to have to be a leader and a big player for them no matter where they play him on the field, whether that's striker or in a more central or defensive midfield position. I think that he has to be performing and leading and setting an example for these guys, kind of grouping the team together, getting them to play the way that they're supposed to play. And if he doesn't do that job, then there's a chance that this can go very wrong for RSL. But again, like I said, no pressure on them. They should just be going out there, playing the best that they can, trying to snatch points away from teams. Then on the Colorado side, my players to watch are Nomley and Price. So Eunice Nomley, I think, is a great attacking player for Colorado in the beginning of the season, especially in that Orlando game, where he carved up that defense and scored the opening goal in that game. And I don't think he's like a big name in the league, at least not yet, but he definitely can perform in Orlando. And I think if he does this, he could be a great difference maker for them in attack. And then Jack Price, I think, has quietly become one of the best midfielders in the league. And I think he's going to be super important for Colorado, both in the defensive sense and the attacking sense. And I think that attacking-wise, he can make up for some players that aren't performing. And then defensively, he can obviously get away with some mistakes by having a veteran like Drew Moore behind him. But I still think that he's going to be needed defensively to really shore up things in the back line and give them extra protection. So with that being said, and even though the pressure's on Colorado, I do think they'll deliver in a close 2-1 win.
All right. I don't disagree. I think everything in there was decent shout. After RSL dumped every player that they had on the attacking third, I have no faith in them. But you're right. Anything can happen. Adam, why don't you go ahead and talk to me about LAFC versus Houston and try to be nice to Houston, okay?
I don't mind Houston. Is this an LAFC team without Vela? That's literally what this group game is going to come down to. Yes, Diego Rossi looked okay to start the season. Yes, the midfield behind them with Kay and Atuesta looked okay. That Janela guy, didn't impress me. From what I've seen the first two games, he kind of looked by far the weakest out of the three of them. But I'll be very interested to see what that back line looks like. I know they've picked up a few pieces, and Andrew and I have pretty much just harped on how poor that back line was to start the year.
They picked it up.
Yeah.
Andy Hart's going to be good. Kenneth Vermeer, not so much.
Yeah, but I think Kenneth Vermeer's problem was how much pressure he was under, because every single time they came down that right side, well, left side for LA, right side for the other team, it was pretty much a chance. Like, he was just getting obliterated toward the end of that game as that left back got tired. But yeah, hoping Bob Bradley saw that, fixed it, signed some new players in the interim, and it's a new look team. But no Vela, no party for LAFC. Especially if that back line is still a little rusty, if they're still getting used to a full game playing together, how each other works. On paper, this Houston team is stupid good. It is. I know Andrew's giving me a face right now, but you look at some of the attacking options they have. The back line is a dumpster fire.
All right, how many players make up a team? Remind me.
11.
Okay. So if the back five are awful and the front six are good, does that make a good team on paper?
Attacking wise, yes.
No, we're not talking. You didn't say they were a good attacking team on paper. You said they're a good team on paper. They're not a good team on paper.
I said they were a good attacking team on paper.
No, you said they were a good team on paper.
Okay, attacking wise, their back line's dumpster fire. They're gonna play a 4-1-5, and I'm okay with it. Front line of Darwin, Memo, Elise, Manotas, like theoretically, this team should be able to bang in goals whenever the hell they want. All the back line has to do is just launch the ball up to them. They don't have to play any sort of defense whatsoever. They just get the ball, kick it up to the forwards, and say, pull the FCC strategy of go do something. If Vela plays with the way that Houston backline looks, LAFC are going to win this game, aren't they? I'll go 3-1 LA. If Vela plays, if he doesn't, I'll go 2-0 LA.
Okay. All right, so let's get to that last game. Connor, tell me a little bit about Galaxy versus Portland.
So I originally compared this game to something similar of the Atlanta RBNY game, and that I felt that the winner of this game would go through. Obviously, we know LAFC is the favorite for the group, and then Galaxy and Portland kind of battling for that second spot. I feel like this game could be the difference maker in who gets second, who gets third. Obviously, third place can still go through, but there's no guarantees in that. So you'd rather play it safe, get second. So that's where this game's going to play in, and it's going to be important. So my players to watch for the Galaxy is Chicharito and Gonzalez. Obviously, Chicharito is someone that we love to bag on. And by we, I mean Adam and I. We love to bag on him early in the season for his lack of results. But if there was ever a time for him to start getting going, it's right now, because this would really make up for the slow start that he had in the beginning of the season. And they're really going to need him to step up. And that doesn't necessarily have to be with scoring goals. Obviously, it's an important part of being a striker. But even if he can start doing some little things to help the attack, kind of group the attack together, he has helped in the attack with Christian Pavón, who is a great player. So he doesn't have to do everything on his own. And then there's Giancarlo Gonzalez, who really needs to step up and play great and get that back line together, because we know how bad that Galaxy back line could be. It is bad. But there's some decent players in there. Gonzalez can be a decent player. I believe they have Insua, who could also be a decent player. So you got to hope that you can get the best out of these guys, because that's your only hope for a Galaxy back line. Because otherwise, if Gonzalez doesn't play well, the LA back line doesn't play well, and then they're going to be shipping goals left and right. And then if Chicharito doesn't get it together, then it's just an overall mess for the Galaxy, and it's going to go really poor. Now, on the Portland side, I went for the two big names in the team, Sebastian Blanco and Diego Valeri. Blanco is the biggest difference maker for me, and that's not me saying that he's the best, even though he could be. I just think that he is going to be the difference between them excelling or not excelling in terms of attacking. And I think that he has the ability to be a great player for them, even better than Valeri. But he really needs to seize the chance and prove it. Thus far, Valeri's had the spotlight, but this is a great opportunity for him to shine and really take over and be the guy for Portland. And then obviously there's the aforementioned Diego Valeri, who we all know is a former MLS MVP. And the only thing that I would have a slight concern with him is he is getting a little bit up there in age. I don't know if that's going to have an effect. In the beginning of the season, it certainly didn't, because he scored, I think, 2 goals in 2 games. It's a great start to the season. If he continue that form and get clicking with Blanco, that Portland attack is going to be super good. And we know that the Portland defense is going to be probably pretty solid. So I think the attack is the difference for them. So for the prediction, originally I had this down as a win for the Galaxy. But due to the loss of Katai and Jonathan Dos Santos, I'm going to change that and say Portland wins this 3-1. And because of that, they're going to move on to the knockout stages in second over LA Galaxy.
You're wild for even thinking LA had a chance, but that's okay. That's okay. That's it. That is our recap of every game that is going to happen in week 1 of the MLS is Back tournament. We will be back next week to highlight some of the games that we're watching. We will be back to preview some of the games for week 2. We might have a special guest in the works. We are still working on that from out west that isn't SACTown, so we're going to be working a little bit closer with somebody over there. So keep an eye out for that as well. before we go, we want to invite everybody to join our MLS is Back tournament group. We will tweet out a link pretty much every day. We'll make sure that everybody's ready to go so they can join it, and we'll tweet it out all the time so it's always there. And we want everybody to join it just like we did the fantasy group. We want everybody, one from every team. That would be awesome. But keep an eye out for that. And does anybody have anything else they'd like to say?
Don't join the group. There's no point. I'm going to win it. So
that's cute. Okay, we should do quick fire predictions because we need to have our recorded predictions out here. So is everybody ready?
Sure.
Some of them already put out. We'll repeat them anyway. Orlando, Inter Miami. Adam.
What did I say? 2-1?
I don't know. What did you say?
2-1.
Connor?
I'll say 1-1.
I also said 1-1. Nashville, Chicago. Adam?
3-0 Chicago.
Connor?
2-0 Chicago.
I also had 2-0 Chicago. Connor, stop looking at my paper, you cheater.
Sorry.
NYC, Philly. Adam?
2-0.
Connor?
1-0 NYC.
Oh, that's right. All right, good. You're not the worst. I have 2-1 Philly. Montreal, New England. Adam? No, it's not 11-0 Montreal.
1-0.
1-0
1 or
who?
2-0, yeah.
1-0 who?
Montreal.
Okay. Connor?
I said 1-1.
I say 2-1 Montreal. FC Dallas, Vancouver, postponed. We all get that one right. 15. TFC, DCU. Adam?
2-1 Toronto.
Connor?
2-2.
3-1 Toronto for me. Seattle versus San Jose. Adam?
3-0 Seattle.
Connor?
4-1 Seattle.
I'm going to say 3-1 Seattle. Atlanta, RBNY. Adam?
1-0.
Connor said 1-0, right?
Yeah.
And I said 1-0 RBNY. FCC Columbus. Adam?
7-0 Columbus. No. 3-0 Columbus.
All right. Connor?
2-0 Columbus.
I'm going to say 3-2 Columbus. It'll be close, but it's going to be 3-2 Columbus.
Wow. Because Red Bull gave up 2 goals to Cincinnati doesn't mean Columbus will.
Fire you. SKC, Minnesota. Adam?
3-2 SKC.
Okay. Connor?
3-1 SKC.
I also had 3-1 SKC, you cheater.
Yeah.
RSL, Colorado. Adam?
2-0 Colorado.
Connor?
2-1 Colorado.
2-0 Colorado. LAFC, Houston. Adam?
5-4. 3-1 LA.
All right. Connor?
2-0 LA.
I had 2-1 LA. LA Galaxy, Portland to finish it off. Adam?
3-1 Portland.
Connor?
3-1 Portland.
2-0 Portland. All right. That is officially it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure you are following us on all your social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to us wherever you get your podcasts so you can see the next time we go live. Keep up to date with all of our Twitter stuff because that is where we are most active. Make sure you're checking out all of our tournament stuff. Make sure you're checking out all of our predictions. We'll be tweeting daily predictions as the games go out. And just make sure you're keeping engaged with us, man. We are on the up and up. It's going to be great. It's going to be so good. We're really excited to keep bringing you guys content, and we hope you enjoy it too. Please keep giving us your feedback. We love interacting with you guys in the Reddit group right now. All the Reddit groups are really, really great, talking with us about our last episode with our least memorable players. We're getting really good shouts for who we left off because we didn't even know they existed, let alone forgot about them. So really enjoying that. So thank you guys all for that. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Designated Players Podcast. And we will see you next time on the next episode of our Designated Players Podcast. See ya.